So being week 2 with my entire program set up around auto-regulation, I just looked at my last top set from 1 week ago and decided to add 10 pounds to it and see what happens. I had no idea what to expect, but we're about to see. For this first warm-up set at 1 plate, it actually felt pretty stiff and uncomfortable. It was bad enough for me to actually anticipate a pretty bad outcome for this second session in the program. And I was worried there for a second, but after this second warm-up set at 2 plates, all my tightness and weakness off the ground was completely gone, and I was able to actually push a lot of force through my legs and into the rest of the set. Which, although there were some very promising indicators in this session, it is very early in the program to tell how it's going to unfold. Especially being that this is just my second week, and my first week was in a different environment. I had a different deadlift spot in the gym and a different bar, and I just got new straps. So those are 3 variables that have changed, so it is going to be kind of hard to tell just on these 2 sessions. Although because of those strong indicators, I am very optimistic for what's to come, and a lot more so than previously I thought, just because of this second session being so good and so much better than the first one. Which you'll see here in a second. It's kind of hard to tell the difference, just the fact that it's 10 pounds heavier for my top set, but the way it felt during those lifts is completely different, and you can see a little bit of weakness in the first versus the second top set. So I'm about to show my top set from 1 week ago at 455. It looks pretty similar, which you can see a couple of regrips just because neurologically I wasn't there. And speaking of neurologically, that was a much tougher session, much tougher lift than the one from just a few days ago, which I'm recording now. Oh, that's too bad. Now getting into my 2 drop sets for my most previous session, which for my last session, the drop sets I was completely gassed for, and I had no energy or strength left to complete them with a lot of neuro drive. These, they just kept getting easier every single rep I was doing. So again, that's a very massive indicator for a lot of progress that I made, even though it's a low weight RPE wise. And I think that bodes very well for as the weeks go on in this program. But that wraps it up for this week's deadlifts, and I'll now be getting into my farmer's carries that I have programmed, which this is my first time doing them in an actual program with a structured approach, and these were pretty difficult. Coming from just being a chud powerlifter very recently, just cardiovascular wise, these were very taxing. And as a powerlifter, I'm not used to extended periods of time holding on to a lot of weight. So just my shoulders and traps and upper back muscles were very unaccustomed to it, and which I got really sore from this exercise. Plus the fact that my hands are unused to the extended duration of holding the weight. And that as a powerlifter, I rarely trained to grip, since I didn't need to at the time. I was using straps mostly, but now that I'm switching to Strongman, I think my grip is going to progress a lot. Previously, all my grip training came from arm wrestling. Although, like the deadlifts for this session, I seem to be adapting very well to the stimulus, and actually step by step, I was getting more and more accustomed to the intensity of it, and I just adapted very fast. So I anticipate a lot of progress coming very soon for this exercise as well, and all other strongman-like events. As you'll see for this next set, I was able to go quite a bit further and back with actually less struggle. Added to that, the fact that I just right here, you'll see I stepped on actually a perfectly triangle-shaped pebble, which was extremely invigorating for my next few steps. And I know you're gonna say it, but at the time I was only in sandals and socks, and my socks are pretty cushiony and slippery on the concrete that I was on. Obviously I can't wear sandals, and I'm just against wearing shoes in general for heavy exercises, because unless you're in a flat sole shoe, which I don't currently have right now, the cushioning that most shoes have on the sole just adds a lot of instability and wobbliness to the movement, which those cushions are designed to make it feel like you're walking on a bed. But if you try to do this on a bed, you're probably going to roll both your ankles and be hospitalized and die, which luckily I still have my ankles. But that wraps up this session, and I will see what my next week looks like.